Hello. So this is not the first set that has occurred during the RBY UU Invitational, but it's the first one I'm going to cover since I think it's the most interesting so far. I am going to be covering every set throughout the tournament though. This is between kjdaas and chuva de perereca. Sorry if I butchered that. I don't actually know how to pronounce the last part. So these were both pretty highly seeded. One was ninth and one was 10th, I believe. But they were still pretty similar, so they were projected to be a pretty close set. And it did go to game 3, which is usually embodiment of a close set. This one was also interesting because just two different backgrounds in RBY UU. Chuva has been really a rising star in RBY as of late. They've been doing exceptionally well in SPO as an RBY OUer, and that's a pretty prestigious tournament right there. And they were coming off of a win at the RBY UU Second Spotlight Tour, which was a pretty surprise performance because you had people like Volk, Shellnuts, Torchic, myself all present, and they ended up winning the event without dropping a set, beating Volk, myself, and Mycon, who ended up also performing surprisingly well, placing second. Though Chuva arguably beat more of the current and understood to be top players. kjdaas is a bit of an older figurehead in the scene. She has had really good performances in tournaments like RBY PS, beating some really good players there, including uh, people who, when they were in the scene, used to be considered top 2, and is just overall really good player. They do drop sets to players like Thor, who aren't generally seen as super top, but they've been shown to be able to beat basically anyone. I would have to double check the data, but I believe they even have a Lush one, who's widely considered to be either the best or up there as the best player of the tier. So this is a pretty hype set going into it. This is a pretty interesting lead matchup to boot. Haunter is a anti-sleep lead with the intention of being able to outspeed Hypno with sleep and get that early advantage. And compared to other sleep leads such as Venusaur, it doesn't take damage from Tentacruel early with Wrap Chip or Fear of Blizzard, for instance. So that's an advantage of it. And it also has Explosion off the bat, so it can do something similar to Gengar and OU, where you sleep and then pressure with Explosion to get some really early good plays. That's with it in the lead set. In the back, it's usually more of a defensive pivot, doing stuff like coming in on body slams from Gyarados and Vaporeon and threatening them with the pretty strong Thunderbolt. But when you put up in the front like this, you generally are using it as that Kamikaze style lead. It's usually more expendable. In this case, however, it's going up against Kadabra, who's not as common these days as it was for Loa, but it's still very common. I think it's the third most common lead. It's there with the intention of beating Tentacruel in that it scares that with Paralysis and Stab Psychic. And you can even punish like a Hypno switch in with a Reed and bring something in like your own Haunter or Venusaur to get that Sleep Lead style punish with the advantage of effectively also beating Tent leads. The main downside is that if you go into Hypno, it either forces an early like back foot on the momentum because it's not able to make much progress versus Hypno, or you leave it in, let it take Paralysis, and effectively trade with Hypno, which is especially nice because lead Hypno are often Hypnosis Hypno, which has a better matchup against. But Paralyzed Kadabra does lose a lot of its offensive presence and pressure on something like Tentacruel. Personally, I don't like leaving my Kadabra expendable, so I don't usually use it. But people who do and back it up with like more really fast Pokemon are more likely to do this. In this case, this is a really good matchup for Chuva because Haunter really does not want to be staying in here personally because Hypnosis is not consistent enough and Kadabra has a high crit rate. So kjdaas is immediately on the back foot of momentum here. In this case, it's kind of interesting because that momentum wasn't applied super hard. If he had like if Chu had like a back sleeper, he could punish kjdaas and her Hypno switch and more. In this case, now you have an even matchup. Well, it's not realistically even, because I've used Hypnosis Hypno plus Hypnosis Hypno. Sorry, Hypnosis Haunter plus Hypnosis Hypno. But that's not particularly common, so from Chuva's perspective, this is most likely a sleepless Hypno. So if this is a sleep Hypno with a sleep move, then this is really good for Chuva. If neither of them or both of them have sleep, then this is an even matchup, and not a lot of momentum was gained on Chuva's end. We see here this was a sleep Hypno, and at this point we don't know whether this one had sleep. So in this case, we do see the power of Kadabra, and that it was able to keep a lot of that momentum going. This is an example of one of the reasons why I think Hypno's so good, is that it's one of the few Pokemon that can semi-reliably wake up from sleep. Like in this case, we see it wake up after a single Seismic Toss, and nothing is really killing Hypno until it's like below half, or at half and it takes some rap, or at half and it takes some rap chip, or if it's below half. So this is just generally really good, because now kjdaas has a Hypno again, especially if she has a Hypnosis Hypno, which in this case she actually does. So because of Hypno's ability to actually reliably wake up, we see it now get the advantage completely back in KJ's favor. Alright, so I didn't actually proofread this replay before, so that part kind of surprised me. But either way, even if it woke up, we still see it do that. This Dugtrio switch is interesting because while Hypno is sleeping, if Hypno stays in, then it could use Substitute and get multiple free Earthquakes in, which combined with its crit rate can be really deadly. And it can also force some early info, because it usually draws stuff like Tangela, Dragonite, or not Tangela, because Tangela plus Hypnosis Hypno is just not a team, I don't think. But it can draw stuff in like Gyarados and Dragonite pretty early and gets some of that early info. And with how far ahead you are, that's especially really nice. In this case, the Kangaskhan comes in. From Chuva's perspective, I'm personally not quite sure the reasoning, though I think Chuva's probably better than me. The thing I don't like about this is that Hypno realistically isn't really that scared to switch out. So there's a very likely chance that Hypno just stays in and uses a Seismic Toss, especially because Hypnosis plus Seismic Toss is a set nowadays. And from that perspective, Kangaskhan coming in on a Seismic Toss isn't that great for Chuva, because now it has to fear Thunder Wave, and I don't think it gains much from that interaction. On the other hand, if Chuva was able to predict a Dugtrio here, perhaps due to scouting, or maybe it was trying to catch like or really any of the fast threats that can punish this, like versus a Persian, it could even be good, so it's trying to catch that, then I guess that would make sense. But so yeah, I guess the Kangaskhan switch actually does work. It is just worth noting that if Hypno stayed in, that's not the most safe thing. We see here how even though Lead Haunter is inconsistent, when it does land, it is able to use that defensive utility I was talking about earlier. It's just that when you use it as a lead, I feel like you can't really rely on it. But in this case, kjdaas is able to do this. It's especially nice because if Kangaskhan Earthquakes and Dugtrio stays in to apply Earthquake, that's not that great, because you didn't get a lot of reward like you would with a Body Slam, which could pair the Dugtrio and make it almost a dead Pokemon. So in this case, it was just a tricky situation for Chuva, and kjdaas able to take advantage of it. And now, Kangaskhan doesn't have a great special defense, so it could fear a Thunderbolt maybe, depending on what happens here. Realistically, though, it's probably running Earthquake, so you don't have to fear that much. Since Earthquake does like 80% to Haunter, I think. If it stays in, it could get Explosioned, which would be pretty deadly because that buffs Dugtrio a lot. Because Kangaskhan is a decently reliable answer to Duck Trio. If chuva could go to Hypno here, because Hypno doesn't take that much from like Thunderbolt or a it doesn't take that much from Thunderbolt or Nightshade. So you could go that, and it could catch an explosion, which would be good because you usually want your sleep sack to soak explosion. But if Haunter switches out to something that's more punishing to Hypno, that could potentially be really bad because now Kangaskhan likely has to take chip. Like if KJ went to Persian, for example, predicting a Hypno switch. Or if Haunter stays in, predicting it, to click Thunderbolt, that could crit, or just generally get some good damage in. Which is why this Body Slam pivot is so valuable. We see here, chuva predicts that kjdaas is going to go to... This isn't even a predict, it's more of a mid-ground. I think chuva's okay with the reality of Haunter booming into Kangaskhan here. Maybe there's a backup Dotrio check, for example, like Gyarados. I have a Kangaskhan Gyarados team that I like to use a lot that also has Omastar. I've been using as one of my favorite balance teams. So in this case, with that in mind, there's a lot less risk to Explosion going into the Kangaskhan here. And there is also the note that if you are a Dotrio user, it is possible that you want to preserve the Haunter in case there's a Gyarados or Vaporeon, because Haunter checks those pretty well. So with that in mind, I guess chuva was aware that there is a likely possibility still that they could actually go back to Hypno. So in this case, Earthquake was a pretty safe play, and staying in general was a safe play. You don't want to over-predict or anything. So this is pretty nice because I'd have to double check, but I think Crit Body Slam KOs here? I'm not sure if Hyper Beam KOs here either. But Hypno's definitely down to the point where it has to start fearing stuff. Another good Body Slam pivot. This is interesting. Psychic Haunter isn't something you see very much because usually the traditional set is Hypnosis, because Haunter's one of the main advantages is as a sleeper. Thunderbolt, because as a Body Slam pivot, most of the things you're pivoting on with Body Slam are stuff that's either specially frail or weak to Thunderbolt. Stuff like Vaporeon uses Body Slam as a mid-ground and as a Tentacruel Paralyzer. Gyarados uses Body Slam as one of its main attacks. Kangaskhan, especially frail, it's its main stat, Body Slam. So you usually use Thunderbolt to get that. Psychic is interesting because it hits opposing Haunter, which is nice. And if I remember correctly, chuva is a big Haunter user, which could be part of the reason for this. And it can also get in some cheeky special drops that could steal games, which is cool. If I had to guess, the opposing Haunter matchup's the main thing. But this does introduce an interesting conundrum, because assuming there's certainly a Hypnosis because it was used in the lead, and I don't think there's a reason to use Sleepless Haunter as the lead, that presumably means there's Hypnosis plus Psychic. And I don't think you would ever drop Thunderbolt because you get a lot of value out of that. So this is either a Nightshade as your fourth after the 2 attacks sleep, which means there's no explosion, which does reduce a lot of your offensive potency versus like Kadabra, for example. It could be with explosion and without Nightshade, which might present Hypnos some more opportunities to wake up. And as we know, Hypnosis isn't the most consistent thing, which could possibly result in Haunter ended up just dying to a Psychic or a Thunder Wave, depending on what this Hypno set is. Or it could be a Rest, maybe, though I think as a lead you wouldn't want you wouldn't super value the consistency move in Rest, and Rest Haunter's not even that popular nowadays, just due to the fact that there's a lot of stuff that pressures it consistently. So this is either Nightshadeless or Boomless. If I was chuva, I would guess Nightshadeless, which could result in chuva trying to get some hypno wake ups. In this case, no crit on the EQ, which is great for KJ. Yeah, here my guess is that like, so chuva wanted to preserve the Kangaskhan presumably here. Going to hypno to soak the explosion is good because, like I said, there was opportunity to wake up hypno to if it was boomless, but even if it is boom, you want your sleep sec to soak boom anyways, so the hypno switch I think was just objectively the best play here. This is a very interesting set. Also interesting to see a lead, kind of funny to see a lead Haunter that never actually got to click its sleep move. But yeah, here, realistically, there is a Kadabra. I think Kadabra has like 80% usage, but it technically wasn't known before this. Like, I know some people have been comparing Kadabra to even Tentacruel and Hypno lately due to the high usage. The 180 is still a pretty big difference. It's kind of like a big 2.5 at the moment. But yeah, this was a pretty objectively good play, since Hypno is sleeping, so it can Seismic Toss. Now, Chuva's in a back position here, because now Kadabra's pretty frail, so stuff like Dugtrio can pressure it really hard. If you Psychic to catch a Dugtrio switch in, then Kadabra may just stay in, or Hypno switches in, and there's not much benefit off of that, and you're eating damage. If you Thunder Wave, Dugtrio could pivot in and start applying pressure with Earthquake, for example. So she was in a weird spot here. I think if it were me, I would probably just go for Seismic Toss here to catch Dugtrio Reed, Hypno switch in, or Kadabra stay in, get them to 65. It is a bit annoying because now your Kadabra's paired and theirs is not, so they have the advantage. But this is just a tricky situation in general. In this case, we see them trade T-Wave, and I get that. Even if Dugtrio comes in, like I said, there's probably a backup Dugtrio check, so I can see it. I think by this, we can assume that there is a... I think we can definitely assume there's like a good Gyarados or something. But we just see them trade. And this is just standard Kadabra mirror stuff. There's nothing too interesting here. Yeah, this was predicting a recover or full para. Yeah, like I said, there was definitely probably a dedicated Dugtrio check here. In this case, Gyarados. And yeah, that's just a really powerful substitute right there. Because with crits, or just in general, like, if there's a crit here, that could be disastrous for Chuva. And we see there is a crit. That is really good for KJ. Because while I don't believe you're in the range of a regular Rock Slide KOing, this Gyarados is going to have a really hard time checking Dugtrio now. And with Kangaskhan getting chipped, Hypno sleeping, and Kadabra low and paralyzed, like, Dugtrio has so much mileage it can get off here now, thanks to that Rock Slide crit with the substitute. We see KJ come with Tentacruel to soak up the Ice or Water move. Chuva's Tentacruel comes in to soak, presumably, the Blizzard, or Wrap, I guess. KJ misses Wrap here. If I was in KJ's position, I don't think, yeah, Surf doesn't KO here. I think it's like a 50%, like at 50% at KOs. And if you Surf and it stays in, I mean, realistically, it's not staying in, because that's way too risky. I think they're probably going to Tentacruel. So you may want to, I think I would click Wrap here, because if they stay in, you're chipping it into Surf range. If they go to Tentacruel, you can pivot to something like Dugtrio to pressure it. So, yeah. Yeah, in this case, that's what happens. In this case, they're gonna stay in. I mean, that makes sense. At this point, there's nothing that's threatening Tentacruel to stay in, so you can just stay in and apply more chip. Get it into Dugtrio guaranteed EQ range, because that's gonna be... Once Tentacruel is in Dugtrio EQ range, this Dugtrio is just gonna go ham. I think it's actually in range now. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, this is disastrous for Chuva now. This Dugtrio is gonna be really hard to stop. Because now Kangaskhan can only eat one more Earthquake. Dragonite comes in. Interesting. Ooh, Thunderbolt Dragonite. That's something to discuss. That's not a... Dragonite's a very flexible Pokemon when it comes to moveset. I see a lot of Thunderbolt on teams that are weak to Omastar and Vaporeon, but especially Omastar, because Dugtrio can have issues with that sometimes. Like one of the weaknesses of like the Blizzard Hyper Beam set, for instance, or Blizzard Body Slam can be Omastar. Thunderbolt's really cool. It's also a nice just general mid-ground to hit stuff like Tentacruel. It's definitely a move I particularly like, but it's not super common. And this is just a lot of mileage here, because one wrap into a Surf KOs, I think? I would have to double check, but Tentacruel is definitely very low. Now it can like lose in the mirror. And you can't really rest super reliably, because now you're letting in Dugtrio. And like we already established, this is very scary for Chuva from a Dugtrio perspective. Okay, well there is a rest. There's the Dugtrio. Okay, yeah, there's the Kangaskhan to catch the Dugtrio. So I guess that makes sense from that perspective, because you drew that in. So there's an Articuno. Now we know the full team on both sides. Ooh, we see Thunderbolt come into really good play. This Articuno is basically useless now, because it got crit and paralyzed from the Thunderbolt Dragonite. That's big. That buffs this Dragonite a lot. Especially since you do want to apply some more damage on Kangaskhan to make the Dugtrio sweep super confirmed. Yeah, man, this is just a deadly Thunderbolt. There's a Tentacruel to fight Articuno, the full para, with a Hydro Pump Tentacruel. I'm actually kind of I'm not surprised in KO. Articuno is a high special, but pretty interesting it survived at 1% here. I don't know reasoning for Hydro Pump Tentacruel. I don't even know specific calcs for it. I just know it's pretty rare, because it's not super consistent. But you can get some cheeky KOs, I imagine, since it can be hard. You're not really predicting Hydro Pump. You're just going to be calcing with Surf. I wonder if you KO Kangaskhan, like when I was at like 69 earlier, I wonder if Hydro Pump KOs. I'd have to calc that later. Yeah, we see Blizzard here, because the freeze would really put Chuva back in the game, but didn't get it. So now I see Tentacruel come in. There's the Kangaskhan to catch the Dugtrio again. Really nice switch from Chuva. We see Kangaskhan get the full paralysis here, and Dragonite had to eat it. Yeah, this is just a good switch on kjdaas's part. Tentacruel here was pretty obvious, so Hypno to catch it is good. Especially since Dugtrio would probably be a little risky in case like Gyarados or Kangaskhan stay and switch and whatever. Good play. There's the Hypno. The rest is kinda interesting. I feel like you just Psychic or Seismic Toss if you had it. This is really bad for Chuva now. Kangaskhan. Oh, wait. I didn't even think about that. No, that was just fine. Yeah, now Kangaskhan can't really fight anything. The Tentacruel is slept. I mean, this gets a little weird, because now Hypno has one sleep turn burnt, so could maybe wake up. Your Hypno is slept with 2 turns. Their Gyarados is alive. Did you really have to stay in there? I feel like you could have gone to like Hypno or Kadabra, brought in Tentacruel, applied more Surf or whatever. This is still sleeping. I don't know if that had to die, but Especially since that chip didn't really do much, it felt like. I don't know. But yeah, either way, Tentacruel comes in here. I'm not sure if I like this, because you don't have anything to outspeed Tentacruel. You're wasting a lot of your Blizzard PP. You're not getting any freeze off of that. I'm not sure if I like that sequence. I don't think Dugtrio should have died already. Mm. Yeah, I feel like kjdaas kind of threw away her momentum. I mean, obviously, I'm not in either the player's shoes, so obviously I don't know a lot of the details behind it. But I felt like if you had a Dugtrio still, you had such good pressure against Tentacruel, and now Tentacruel's alive instead of resting. Like, that was the main weakness of the Tentacruel, is that once slept, it was really weak to Dugtrio. And these were getting really chipped so that they couldn't check Dugtrio reliably anymore. And, like, Kadabra is not doing much of anything anymore, so I feel like you could have gone Kadabra versus the King's Con to let Tentacruel back in. And then when their Tentacruel comes in, now you can either stay in, apply some surf damage, like you have that mix up, and once Dugtrio gets in, it can often be game if Kangaskhan is taken enough that, I don't know. I feel like if Dugtrio was still alive, you could have pressured a lot more efficiently. Yeah, see, now it's sleeping. What's answering this Kangaskhan reliably? Right, like, if that crit or full or I guess, yeah, if this paralyzed, that would have been really bad for kjdaas there. In this case, it wasn't, so now Tentacruel is going to come in, but besides relying on the Blizzard chance, you're not getting much advantage. Or like, here's the Kadabra, but what did you get for preserving it, you know? Like, I feel like you didn't get much. And there's the Hypno waking up, like, now this is more so, like, now this is really in Chuva's favor, when it really didn't have to be. I mean, Chuva's really ahead, but did you have to Hyper Beam? Because I'm 99% sure Body Slam KOs, yeah, I'm like certain Body Slam KOs from that percentage. And if you missed, like, there's no reason for kjdaas to switch out, because there's no way you're letting one of these eat a normal. So I feel like you would stay in and click T-Wave, like, or sorry, I guess you would stay in and click an attack just in case. So it is kind of weird that you Hyper Beam, because it could miss, but either way, no punishment off of it. And it's like the most minor thing. It's kind of a greedy Hydro Pump, I almost feel like, because there's no universe where you're not going Tentacruel there. And it could, and even if they did stay in, they're so low that I'm pretty sure Blizzard kills, and Hydro Pump has the higher chance to miss. I don't know, it just feels like a weird Hydro Pump. I feel like you... Well, I guess you do need the Blizzard PP. I feel like you click Wrap. Because Hydro Pump has less accuracy than Wrap, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I feel... Well... No, because then it could burn some sleep turns. So yeah, I guess that is the only play, huh? Yeah. Never mind me. Yeah, using Hydro Pump, waiting. I feel like this was better. Like, why didn't like, I know I just criticized it. That's me being dumb. I feel like earlier when she was wasting all of her Blizzard PP while I was sleeping, and it got down to like 3, why didn't she use Hydro Pump then? Because I feel like this is a game where Hydro Pump being revealed didn't really change much. So I don't think it's about an info leak. Right? I don't know. I feel like this Blizzard PP being really low is kind of disastrous, because I feel like you really needed to freeze this Tentacruel. And also, this is a weird time of Hypno switching, right? Because I feel like here, you could have just gone Hypno and tried to burn sleep turns earlier. I don't know. Yeah, now you're going back to Tentacruel, having it eat damage. The Hypno didn't really do much. Burned 1 sleep turn. Yeah, this is scary because now the Tentacle can get paired. Man, this is like decisively in Chuva's favor now. It's kind of crazy. Like I really felt like kjdaas had it so far ahead, and like yeah, that was a crit, but I felt like kjdaas really had that advantage with the Doug trio. Like that end game looked like it was gonna be scary. I felt like kjdaas just kind of threw it away. Like I don't know if it was a read or I'm just dumb and I missed something, but I don't know. That felt like kjdaas game all the way. Now it's not. Either way, Chuva takes game one. Sorry. So we see double Hypno lead. These are presumably Hypnosis. Yeah. KJ gets the first one. Nice Kangaskhan to punish the sleeping Hypno. This is going to be big. I wonder if we'll see a counter. No, okay, just another body slam. Now, this is pretty big for KJ. Because now, like we saw earlier, when Kangaskhan gets down, like chipped like that, that really opens the way for stuff like Dutchio or a Persian or whatnot. This is pretty big for kjdaas. And you have a full Hypno with their Hypno slept. Like, this is a pretty good start. Yeah, no, no, that's fair. The Hyper Beam was pretty telegraphed. You want to preserve Kangaskhan to not give that opening like we were just like I was just talking about that kjdaas is gonna get. Yeah, kjdaas would get from a low Kangaskhan. So you go Hypno. It's not in range to really die to much, and Psychic Kill. So yeah, that's just a good Hypno switching. We see Kadabra come in, force out their Tentacruel, especially nice since their Hypno is slept. I feel like the Hypno switch was pretty obvious. I feel like you just click Seismic Toss there as Chuva. And even if Kadabra stays in, you're still getting in damage. Well, yeah, no, I feel like the Hypno switch was just super obvious. I feel like you just Seismic Toss there. Because now Hypno's about to be at half health like it was earlier. But now it can threaten Kadabra with Thunder Wave or whatever. Okay, wait. Well, if you Seismic Toss, it wouldn't get a chance to rest. Now, like, Hypno was able to T-Wave, but you had a chance to KO the Hypno there and get a lot of reward off of that, which I feel like just wasn't gotten by not Seismic Tossing. We see, yeah, fair. Kadabra comes in to eat the Surf. This is very big. There's the aggressive Seismic Toss I like to see. Nice recover. We see Dugtrio trade the Earthquake. There's the advantage of the healthy Kangaskhan we were talking about, able to eat these hits. In this case, Rock Slide just misses, so it didn't really matter what came in, but we see the advantage of that Hypno switch into Hyper Beam earlier to preserve it, to be able to take these hits from Dugtrio. That really paid off. Now we see this Hypno is basically dead. Another great start for kjdaas, though as we saw from last game, not completely out of the running for Chuva. That rat mess is pretty unfortunate. That would have been some great momentum to get going. Rat miss? I mean, not really. Yeah, I feel like that was just because with the rat miss. I mean, Dugtrio can't really threaten Earthquake at that point. I mean, it could, and it could crit. So if you do stay in, then Kangaskhan makes sense. This is a nice Kadabra switch in to catch to either catch a Tentacle staying in to try to land the Surf, or the Kangaskhan switch in because it's really frail to the Psychic. So really good Kadabra switch in. There's the Hypno. Not really a risk to clicking Psychic here, especially with the nice special drop there. There's the Articuno to take advantage of the special drop. Freeze? No freeze. Alright. No agility, just gonna go for the freezes. Good wrap, because now gonna be able to threaten really hard with a... Ooh, nice Articuno switch in. I was gonna say gonna be threatened hard with one of these bad boys, but yeah, Articuno is probably more punishing, because more chances to possibly freeze Tentacruel. Chuva's not gonna get... We've seen a lot of freeze attempts. Not one freeze this set. Ooh, nice pressure. That was a great Hyper Beam, because no punish on the recharge turn, and it got Tentacruel directly into Dugtrio EQ range. Gonna see King's coming another Earthquake. That's gonna be pretty hard for kjdaas to check Dugtrio now. This is looking like Chuva's gonna be able to claw it back. Another chance to freeze. Does not get a freeze. Wow. Tentacruel eating more surfs. If kjdaas has a Dugtrio, that could get pretty good pretty fast. Articuno is getting in disastrously Rock Slide range, but we don't know for certain that exists. There's a Double Edge to punish the recover. I don't think it was a bad play. I'm just not sure what the reward from it. Well, you know what? Yeah, that was just a safe play. Presumably, you want to preserve the Articuno's health. Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty safe play. Either Seismic Toss or Recover was coming out there. Nice Dugtrio to punish the Hypno. Yeah, Kadabra's gonna be really annoying to Hypno here, since there is no Seismic Toss. This is May's worst nightmare from kjdaas's end. May really does not like running Seismic Tossless Hypno. For this reason, it's really hard to break through. There's another Articuno here coming in on the Seismic Toss. Paralysis is not too bad for Articuno because of access to agility. Ooh, gonna see the King's gonna punish the recover or the full paralysis, because Hyper Beam is guaranteed to KO 100% Kadabra. Nice Articuno switch in to punish Dugtrio. An unfortunate full para. That's gonna be really, or just crit. Either way, really unfortunate situation for kjdaas. Now this is looking way back into Chuva's favor. Ooh. I'm not sure. Praying for a Rock Slide miss? Yeah, and we see kjdaas. Well, like I was saying, if kjdaas had a Dugtrio, it would be really good for her, and it seemed to have paid off. Now we are 1-1 in the set. Pretty good set so far. Some plays, I mean, I found objectionable, but I'm also not I'm not as good as either of these players. Going into game 3. Going into game 3, we see a Tentacruel lead, a pretty controversial lead as of late, because some players like Hitmonlee and May aren't seeing it as beneficial anymore. But it is still nice versus slower leads because it's able to get that early wrap momentum, especially with these crits getting good chip in. We see Hypno come in. Not going to be a Hypnosis. Wow, not very good start for KJ. Didn't get much momentum off that Tentacruel wrap. See Kangaskhan putting kjdaas on the back foot, especially with a full para on the Golem. Golem's a pretty rare Pokemon nowadays because it's slower than I think it's tied with Omastar. It might be slower than Omastar, and it's weak to everything, right? Like If Kangaskhan had Blizzard, it's weak to Gyarados, weak to Tentacruel, it's frail to Kadabra. Like, it's not very safe, but it is one of the few viable explosion users, and it always has that electric immunity to take advantage of strong earthquakes, but still not as popular these days just due to it's hard to fit on teams, and it can be very hard to just get it in because there's not many opportunities. And here that would have been great if Body Slam didn't paralyze, since, it doesn't take much damage. I don't see a lot of Blizzard Kangaskhan's outside of Shellnuts, so that would normally be a great place to go in. It's kind of a recurring theme with Golem. A lot of its best switch-ins are moveset dependent. Bubble Beamless Persian, Blizzardless Kangaskhan, Psychicless Haunter sounds pretty good for it. But, yeah. In this case, it just eats a pair, which is really bad, because now one of the few times that it really shows off is when it's outspeeding a paralyzed or slept threat. So in this case, this really harms it. We're going to see so this is Golem Gyarados. This used to be a sample team, I'm pretty sure. This is one of the more popular ways to build with Golem. I think Juaween, who just won the last chance qualifier for this event, ran a Gyarados plus Golem team. They cover each other pretty well. But it's not going to be able to show off its full potential due to this unfortunate paralysis, I feel like. Though, kjdaas is now really ahead with that crit Thunderbolt, winning the speed tie to do so. Now that's just a dead Gyarados. I've seen double ground with Golem plus Dugtrio. That would be really good for Dugtrio, because now you only have to worry about this Kangaskhan as Dugtrio. Well, also full host Tentacruel, but that's like the main thing you're fearing here. Ooh, we're going to see another unfortunate para situation on kjdaas's end. I wouldn't be surprised if kjdaas could have clicked recover there. No, would you predict? I feel like kjdaas could have clicked Rock Slide there as a prediction. Not the super likeliest thing. Earthquake was probably pretty logical. So the Articuno, even if it didn't full para, there's a very likely chance you just was immune to the Earthquake. Either way, yeah, we're going to see the aggressive Kadabra to punish the Tentacle switch-in. Seismic Toss to punish the passive Hypno switch-in. This is very good for Chuva right now. Yeah, a lot of momentum on Chuva's end. Very good situation for him. Eating the Thunder Wave with a paralyzed Hypno. No punish. kjdaas is in a very tough spot here. Dugtrio to punish a full para. I feel like Hypno Seismic Toss is there, so that was kind of risky. But at this point, I don't think kjdaas is too concerned about Seismic Toss. You really just need to start breaking through these things. Unfortunate critical hit. Dugtrio was one of your few shots here. Gyarados to clean it up, but not looking too good for kjdaas. Another Golem switch in to come in. Will it full para again? Let's find out. A substitute? Oh, yeah, that works. Too bad the Dugtrio is not still around, because that would have been great. Kangaskhan out of the way, you're only fearing Tentacruel, Articuno, Kadabra. You would just need a couple good crits, but either way, Golem did its work. It just boomed on something. Gonna see a sack of the Hypno. Man, Chuva's got some nice RNG here. Not saying he's playing terribly, but he's definitely got some nice RNG in this Game 3. I feel like you could have gone Kadabra here, because I feel like Psych was really easy, and you could Seismic Toss or Thunder Wave or whatever, but Gyarados comes in. Gonna see a Body Slam. Will it get a paralysis? It will not. Gonna see Tentacruel come in. Will Chuva get a freeze? Chuva would not get a freeze, even with the luck in this Game 3. Chuva has just not been able to get a freeze this set. Neither is kjdaas. You see a Kadabra come in. This recover is gonna be very nice for kjdaas. Now it's gonna be able to partake in the Ditto. No more mons that outspeed Tentacruel besides a set up Articuno, interestingly. That's gonna be pretty important. Gonna see Gyarados come in to punish. I mean, it would ideally punish a full para, so it could body slam. In this case, since Hyper Beam doesn't KO for full, it's just gonna body slam here. Another body slam. Gonna see a Psychic. This Kadabra is now dead. Does it die to a Blizzard here? I think it does. With the special drop. Will Chuva get a freeze? Chuva will not get a freeze. The gods will not let him. Will kjdaas get a freeze? Nobody, God just does not want things. Never mind. There's the freeze. Chuva finally got one. This is a very tough situation for kjdaas now. Is there a reason to set up 2 agility? I guess it's just a flex. Like, I don't see a reason to go for extra agilities. Maybe I'm stupid. But yeah, because now you can't agility reset the para. I guess it doesn't really matter, because Gyarados is slower. I don't know. There's the critical hit, double edge to end it. Chuva takes the set 2-1. The first two definitely felt like one person was just playing better generally. This one was a bit messy, but by the end there, it felt like kjdaas could still take it. We finally got to see a freeze in the set. That was a long streak of no freezes, but lots of fishes. In general, pretty good set, though. There was some interesting stuff to see here. Like the Golem or the Psychic Haunter, Thunderbolt, Dragonite. I guess mostly on kjdaas's end. Just to once again establish, I'm not the best player of this tier, so I may have said something that may be wrong, and that's completely expected. That's just what's going to happen as a commentator. I'm not double-checking calcs or anything, but those are just my first reaction thoughts. I only watched like a couple of turns of this live. Like, I think I saw the Gyarados Thunderbolt crit, and these last couple turns here. Like, right after the freeze happened. So this is just mainly first reaction. Oh, I also saw the Golem get paralyzed live. That was pretty unfortunate. But yeah, I think it's going to conclude it for this one. I think next I might cover... Which one do I want to cover? I think I might cover one of my 2 sets. Maybe me versus Pokemon is Fun. I think I played pretty okay in that set. So that might be an interesting one to cover.